Rob and Slim Show.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Zach Avery.
Zach Avery, how you doing? Actor Zach Avery.
Correct. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. And you're originally from the Midwest, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. Well, I was actually grew up in Tampa, Florida, but I lived in the Midwest for a while, Indiana and Chicago, before coming out to LA.
How long did it take you from when you started acting to get to LA?
I would about 3 or 4 years. I was doing really small stuff, theater things in Chicago, before I decided to move out here. And then, once I got here, still another few years until I really got to sink my teeth into anything.
Wow. What was the first major thing you landed?
The first thing I did out here is it was kind of twofold. So I actually shot this short film that was called The Laughing Man. That was basically the backstory of the Joker. Kind of blew up online within a week or so, got like 3 million views. And from there, the producer and director that were brothers that shot that with me got a deal to do their first feature film called Curvature, and they cast me in that as well. So it was kind of like a 1-2 punch between those two.
That's super cool. Super cool. What made you delve into acting though? I saw on your bio that you also have I think a master's, correct, in psychology?
So I started the program. So I got an undergrad in psychology, and I started a doctorate program in psychology in Chicago, and that's what originally brought me out there. And acting, it was always in the mix. It was one of those things that I always had a passion for, wanted to do, but family-wise, it just wasn't in the cards. My mom's a lifetime educator, and she was just like, look, you need an education first. You can kind of do this acting on the side. It never was looked at as a serious thing. And for me, it just got to a point where I was like, I can't kind of fake it anymore. I have to follow, where my heart's telling me to go.
Oh, wow.
And I just dove all the way in.
That's what I was going to say, because that's one hell of a fallback plan, master's in psychology.
For sure.
Are your parents supportive of your decision?
They are now. It was one of those things I didn't even tell my mom. I legitimately took a leave of absence from school, did not tell her anything, started selling door-to-door sales jobs just to get some money saved up, and then moved out here. And as I was basically packing to move out here, I dropped it on her that, hey, I'm not in school anymore. Haven't been in school for 6 months. Mal, who's now my wife, then my girlfriend and I are packing up the car and driving cross country. And I mean, she lost her mind at first, but now she's supportive.
Wow. And what roles have you landed, Zach? I saw The White Crow, which is the story of legendary ballet dancer Rudolph Nureyev.
Correct. Yeah. So it was kind of a cool run. In 2017 is when we shot that. So, Ray Fiennes directed that film. I got the chance to go in and audition for him, and obviously, being such a legend that he is, simply going in and auditioning was a win for me.
Yes.
Ended up booking the role, and it was amazing. They shot at least my part in Serbia, and so I flew out to Serbia and played this American journalist who was faithfully following Rudolph, the ballet dancer's defection to the West from Russia, and it was just a cool experience. And from there, I kind of was going back to back. I just really met the right people, I think, at that time, and ended up shooting a film called Farming, and then Last Moment of Clarity, and it's kind of been a rolling boulder downhill since then, which has been great.
That's amazing. Going back to The White Crow, and Rudolph's story. I've never seen the movie, and I would love to, but was he basically just hated for leaving Cold War Russia?
Yeah, I mean, it was a two-part thing. It was a lot of which his personal beliefs. He was loose sexually, and so he didn't know if he was, homosexual or bisexual or whatever it may be, and that really wasn't accepted at the time. And so, being a ballet dancer and where he kind of felt his passion taking him, he didn't want to be constrained. He felt like his art was dancing, but he had more to show than just that. And I think, in the time that he was living in Russia, they were, trying to control him and say, hey, this is who you're going to be, and this is the image that you're going to present. And he wasn't about that. So this is kind of his story about saying, hey, I have more to me than this one thing that I do. And yeah, it's great, and I love it, and I'm great at it. But there's a lot of layers there, and so it was a really in-depth look at his life in general.
Cool, cool. And how is the movie done worldwide?
It's been really good. Yeah, I think in the UK it was released first, and I think it's done a few million there, which is great. And then it was released in the US about a month ago now, I think. And I think it went wide. The widest it went was about 300 screens, but it made $1.5 million, $2 million on just 300, and it's still on a number of screens, a month out. So for a specialty type of box office thing like that type of movie, it's doing well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What other films have you done? You said I think you mentioned Last Moment of Clarity.
Yeah, so I shot Last Moment of Clarity a couple months after White Crow, which was a really cool role. So basically, it's an indie thriller. I play this guy named Sam who, you start out, he's in New York. He kind of has everything together. He's a real estate agent out there and love of his life, and he ends up witnessing his fiance getting murdered by the mob. He thinks he's kind of messed up in gambling and things like that. He goes to Paris to kind of escape his life and mourn, and 3 years later he's watching a movie in Paris, and he sees this woman on the screen that weirdly just reminds him of his fiance that he saw getting killed, in a way that's not just like, oh, I think it may be her. He's convinced himself that it is. Ends up going back to the States and going on this wild journey to figure out, is it her? Is she still alive? If she is, what happened? And then, does love exist in a time or a place, or can this like everlasting love last all of these trials and tribulations? So it was a super meaty role and really fun to shoot.
Cool. Where's that available? Is it not out yet?
No, so that's going to the festival circuit, I think, this fall. So I think that will be like a Toronto type of premiere, hopefully. I think that's what they're looking for, and then it will come out after that, is what I've heard.
Cool. And what other projects do you have that you could tell us about?
Yeah, so there's a film that I actually just wrapped called The Gateway. That's a really cool thriller, kind of in the vein of Drive with Ryan Gosling, like that type of thing.
Okay.
It's set in St. Louis. It was directed by a really cool director named Kelly Chavetta, and it was myself, Olivia Munn, Frank Grillo, Shea Wiggum, Bruce Dern, just a really, really solid cast. And it's going to be cool. We just finished it. I was shooting in Virginia for about 7 weeks, got back a couple weeks ago, and that'll be coming out probably end of this year, late fall, early winter. Really excited about that one. It was a fun piece to shoot, and going to be dark and very kind of, you're going to be sitting on the edge of your seat.
Nice. Who are some of your favorite actors, and who would you love to work with?
So for me recently, it's always stuck in my head whenever I think about this, that Bradley Cooper with The Star Is Born just kind of blew me away. It was, he's one of those actors that I've followed his career and really loved what he did, but that specifically, the fact that he wrote it, he directed it, he starred in it, and he really transformed and took, such detail in learning how to play the guitar and sing, and everything that he did with it, I thought was just masterful. So, I would say the most recent is definitely him. It would be an absolute honor to share the screen with him or work with him at all.
That movie that was called A Star Is Born?
Yes.
And that's something he did recently?
Yeah, he did it. It was last year.
Okay, cool. I haven't seen that, but I'm gonna have to check it out because I do like Bradley Cooper. I love him as Rocket Raccoon.
That's Rocket, yeah.
Rocket, bro. And he was in this movie. He was in this movie that not many people know about called Limitless, which I thought he was fucking amazing in that movie.
Oh, I thought it was amazing. I love Limitless.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I really like the part of the beginning when he takes the drugs and everything is going great for his life, and then once it starts going downhill, I'm like, all right, whatever. But the beginning of that movie, I think, is incredible.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask too, Zach. I almost called you Josh. I don't even know why. Zach? What is the craziest thing you've seen go down in filming of a movie?
The craziest thing I've seen. Honestly, it happened to me, was pretty crazy. So I was shooting this film called Hell's Where the Home Is, which is now it's called Trespassers, coming out this summer. and we were shooting this fight scene in a pool. So basically, we go from outside of the pool to like diving in the pool, and it's freezing cold. It was crazy scene, and we're trying to like shoot the underwater part of it. And the guy I'm working with is a stunt guy, and so he's like, there's a safe word that if something goes wrong, like just kind of say it. And so we start saying the safe word is heart for whatever reason. That's what he wanted to do. So we get tackled in the pool, and we're going after each other, and I like scratch the side of my back as we're going in, and the pool's freezing. So my body almost goes into this like weird shock mode, and I start like coming up for water, yelling heart, going back down, and he doesn't stop. And legitimately, I was 2 seconds away from dying. Like it was the craziest thing. Get out of the water. Obviously, I was okay and everything was fine.
Yes.
The entire crew, once they knew I was fine, thought it was hilarious because I was like, heart, heart, screaming every time I came out of the water. But I would say that that's probably the craziest thing I've seen personally,
Wow.
at least, firsthand.
That's like Underwater Fight Club.
Oh yeah, it was wild. It was really wild. And
Wow.
I've seen the film now, and it actually came out great, that scene. So that's all that matters, I guess. But it was pretty crazy.
Did they keep any of the footage from when you were like actually terrified?
They can. So I don't think anyone else would know, but I definitely can see. There's times where I'm coming out and kind of gasping that you see like a real. This guy needs some air type of gasp when he's coming out of water, and that was certainly one of those takes for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Very cool. What
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just trying to look at my notes real quick at my chicken scratch. Well, I see too. And you mentioned it like you're a husband, and I saw too you're a father. How do you juggle acting with family life?
It's interesting. It's one of those things that obviously the best case scenario is if I'm on a shoot that's not shooting in LA, which 99% of them are not. I try to find, my wife and I figure out something where it's kind of like a 2-week rule, whether I try to come back on a weekend if it's after 2 weeks, or they try to come out, at least she tries to come out and visit for a couple of days, just so it doesn't go longer than that, because it really, once you start getting into a month and a half, whatever it may be, especially with my son, he's only a year and a half old, so he's changing so quickly that, we really have to make sure that we put the time in face-to-face, and obviously FaceTime is helpful, but not the same as in person, so it's a juggling act, but we knew what we were getting into, when we got into the gamut of acting, and so it is what it is.
Cool. And what advice would you give to somebody just starting out in acting?
I would say the biggest thing is twofold. The first thing is follow your gut. Is that like normally when you're first starting out, almost everything you're offered, anything you read, anyone you talk to, if they offer you a role, you're going to do it no matter what, which at some point is okay. But most of the time when I've done things that I've read and I'm like, I do not think this is good, it's probably going to be horrible, but I'm going to do it because it's a little bit of a paycheck or whatever it may be, and I need to get footage, I've done it, and then it's almost brought me backwards in my career because it wasn't good, and I knew it wasn't good from the beginning. So I would say, follow your gut, and if you instinctively feel like, this isn't right for you, then pass on it. And then the second thing is only listen to yourself. Is you're going to get a lot of outside influence kind of pushing you in different directions, or even telling you that you should just quit because it's too hard and there's too many people out there trying to do it. And if this is the only thing you can see yourself doing, put your head down and do it, because it's worth it once you get there.
Cool. And what do you draw off of when you act? Like, who or what is your biggest influence?
For me, I think a lot of the acting that I draw is really firsthand experience. I think as actors, our biggest kind of gift or skill set, I guess, is empathy, and really being able to like watch the world and try to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I think a little bit of the psychology too. Obviously, I've always been interested in kind of why people do the things they do and what makes them tick and so on and so forth. So I think when I dive into a role, it's really kind of bringing both of those to the forefront. Is that, do I know a guy like this, or am I kind of like this? And if I am, or if I have seen that person, what is he wearing? What does he look like? What's his hair look like? All of those physical attributes that then you can work from the outside in is really kind of where I start.
Nice. And I saw too, Zach, your original, your original passion maybe was like football?
Yeah, I don't necessarily say passion because I feel like the passion was always in the arts. Football was something that, I played since I was a kid, and I was good at, I guess, and so I just kept doing it. And I liked it, but it was never something that I really loved. It was always that, I liked the camaraderie of it. I liked kind of getting out there and doing the thing and competing, but it was that split kind of brain where I was like, all right, I'm in this group, I'm doing this thing, but I also kind of want to do that play on Saturday, and it wasn't really working out on both sides of the coin. And so I did it and I followed that, but once I got hurt and stopped, it really was almost a relief. I wasn't upset at all. It was almost like a freedom to say, okay, go do what you want to do now.
That's cool. And I saw, yeah, like I was gonna mention too, I saw you got hurt, and I feel like that happens to a lot of like people in like high school like situations or college situations with like sports. Like a lot of injuries happen. We've had a couple buddies just working with that. Yeah, they've had surgeries or just kind of they're done. They're done.
Yeah, I mean it's almost the anomaly when people don't get injured. I mean I would any of my buddies that have continued to play through college and so on and so forth, all of them almost. I can't think of one that hasn't had some sort of surgery, whether it be minor or concussion issues or something like that. I mean, it's it's a tough sport to play where you're constantly hitting, constantly doing rough activity, and it's wear and tear on the body.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, thank you so much for talking to us, dude. It's been a pleasure.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you guys for the time. It's been a pleasure on my end as well.
Where can everybody find you?
So on Instagram, it's _ Zach Avery. So it's ZACHAVERY.
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, man.
Have a good one.
Cool.